I would say over 50% of my clients these days aren't traditional bowlers.
Right.
Bowling has been able to stay relevant because it has transitioned.
Hi, I'm Russ, and this is the Memory Makers Podcast, the show that helps you create amazing customer experiences and make more memories. And today I am joined by the one and only Mrs. Sarah Malott from Qubica AMF. Sarah, how are you, friend?
Hey, Russ, so good to be here. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's always a good time when we're together, so I'm excited to jump in. We love to nerd out and talk shop when it comes to all things fun and memory making. So we're
I feel like there always needs to be like a liability across the screen, like watch and beware. Like you never know what could possibly happen.
Shenanigans may ensue for sure.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I dig it. Well, this is one of our first partner episodes that we've done, and you and Qubica AMF have been wonderful partners with us through the Amusement 360 program. And, as we have so many of you guys that are just, again, tapped in and keeping your finger on the pulse of what you guys are seeing within the different disciplines, we wanted to dive in and talk what's happening with bowling. What are some of the cool insider, trends and tips and tricks? So that way, as other folks are looking to expand what they're doing or come up with new ways that can impact their business, hopefully we've got a few things that can be of service to them. So, one of the things as we were talking about kind of prepping for this episode was, you had mentioned how social dining and attraction-based dining is reinventing social networks, as well as how bowling was the original social network. So talk to me a little bit about what all goes into bowling and the social variety and how it's being leveraged these days to draw more food and beverage and all of that.
It's so funny because bowling is truthfully like the oldest attraction that anyone can add to a facility. And we call it the original social network because back in the day, and truthfully back in the day, that's how old we are. I love that we can say back in the day. Back in the day, that's what everyone did, right? Like They took their kids to the bowling alleys had daycares in them. And it's funny because most of the pro shops in a bowling alley today are the old childcare or the old daycare in the bowling alley.
I love it.
Parents would go and that was their socialization during the week. It was affordable. It was fun. Anyone can bowl, right? Mm-hmm. Bowling is handicap accessible. There is no age limit to bowling. Children can bowl. So everyone can do it. And that was what people did to get out and have fun.
Yeah.
So, before cell phones and texting and all of the other social media things we have, bowling was the original social network. That's where everyone gathered to have fun.
The community hub. Absolutely. I love that. I did not know that the old pro shops used to be the daycare centers. That is hilarious. And now it's, okay, we still got some pro shops, but now it's the arcade is tending to be a little bit of the daycare center.
Yeah, but they literally had daycares and bowling centers.
That's rad.
You can actually still find, they're not operating daycares, but you can still find some of in the older, more traditional centers where their party rooms were the daycare and you can see them. I've been in several pro shops where they were the daycare, and the awesome part about the daycare was there was running water, right?
Yeah.
There were things that you might not find in other areas. So it was became a perfect place for a pro shop because those things are just a bonus.
Yeah. Oh man, that's a hoot. Well, and it makes so much sense to your point because it's something that has been around for so long. It's such a community draw for folks to have, and bowling operators being savvy to the point of, hey, we need to make it easy for people to be able to come here and spend their time and remove some of those barriers and things so that way they can have the kids either bowl with them or while they're doing league bowling have them have something to do, and some of those fundamentals have still translated even today through modern bowling because it still is a great family hub activity. It's you've got recreational leagues, you've got traditional leagues, you've got all of these different, expanded food and beverage. I mean, food and beverage has gone like bananas with the bowling centers because it's folks are doing so much more than, mozzarella sticks and beer. It's got all the different kinds of good stuff these days. And I feel like that's something that's really, kept it relevant of we can still come have a great time and have good food and solid interactions with people.
So it's funny because bowling has stayed relevant because not because we are just bowling, we have kind of grown and evolutionized with the times. So
Yeah.
I will tell you, it's so funny because I would say over 50% of my clients these days aren't traditional bowlers.
Right.
Bowling has been able to stay relevant because it has transitioned. We have things like Highway 66 or mini bowling or duckpin bowling. And there is a fit for bowling to be that social interaction and engagement in all kinds of venues. And
Yeah.
it's not a bowling alley with leagues per se. We still have plenty of those, and that's for sure the root and anchor of the sport. But we have boutique hotels, speakeasies,
Mm-hmm.
family entertainment centers, children's centers that are adding different forms of bowling that continue to keep it relevant. And
Yeah.
it's amazing where you'll find bowling these
Well,
days.
and it's got the legs, Danny and I oftentimes will talk about if an attraction is going to have long-standing legs, it needs to be, social, immersive, and story-driven. And the social aspect bowling has always had in spades. The story-driven part, I feel like, even from the very early, hey, if you bowl 3 strikes in a row and you have the fun animation come up with the turkey on there, or when you get the strike or you get the spare, like there is that story-driven nature that starts to come into it. And then even with the immersive side, like you said, being able to blend the attraction, whether it's a smaller footprint, whether it's non-traditional like the mini bowling or duckpin bowling or cosmic bowling, technology has paired well with it, to create different types of experiences and gamification and all of that fun stuff to really help keep it front of mind, because it's something where it can be date night, it can be grandma and grandpa taking the little ones, to be able to go and do it. It can have that competitive sport driven nature to it. It's just such a versatile experience for folks. And it's why when you look at IAPA benchmark surveys or whatever, it's just when you talk about revenue per square foot being driven, there's a reason why bowling and arcade and laser tag just tend to be at the top of that list every single time, because it's so versatile and you can create a really enhanced experience. And what I even love too is, as folks are trying to create, VIP areas and boutique, they may have 30 lanes of traditional bowling, but then we're going to have 12 lanes or 6 lanes of really VIP high-end stuff for corporate business. Like
With
it's just
bottle service and all of these elevated extra. I mean, you would never even think you're going bowling because you're not even going to bowl. You're going for this all-inclusive event that bowling becomes a part of.
Yeah. Well, and bowling was Top Golf before Top Golf was Top Golf, right? And so it's just that, hey, we're going to have fun. We're going to compete. We're going to get to, laugh and, at least for me, because my bowling score and my golf score are both bad,
Mine match yours. It's okay.
It's a gentleman's 120 across the board, with all of that fun stuff, but you can have a great time no matter what. And I just love that. And so as you guys have seen, more of your clients and more of traditional bowling centers, stay with the times and add new things, whether it's with software or whether it's just better food and beverage offerings. What are some of the things that you guys are seeing with the food and beverage component that's really driving more dwell time and per cap spending? Because it's always been a good facilitator of food and beverage, but what's really standing out to you as far as what are folks doing with their food and beverage and guest service side of the bowling?
I think 15 years ago, you could ask me like, how are you going to, if you're a client, how are you going to be successful at it? I would say pick something and be good at it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're a bowling center, you have the cleanest bathrooms. If you're going to be a bowling center, like make sure your equipment works and it's functioning and clients don't have downtime. Now, if you ask me, it's not one thing. If you don't have a great product, but matching high quality food and beverage, you're going to struggle because people aren't looking just to go out and bowl, right? Like you and I, for example, we go out and golf or we do whatever. 9 times out of 10, we don't even remember what our score was. Like we're competitive and we'll have fun, but it's about all the elements that made that memorable for us, right?
Yeah.
Because most of our bowlers aren't going out to bowl. They're going out to eat dinner and hang out with their friends, and they reserve lanes just so they can make sure they have a spot. The competitive bowling probably isn't the driving force to get them out. So if you don't have comparable food and beverage to your product, you're probably not going to get that repeat business, where before you could have a snack bar, have hot dogs and have whatever, and it not be a big deal. The the spend has risen so much on food and beverage per dollar spent in bowling that if you don't have that pairing and partnership in your facility, you're going to struggle. It's not just one thing. People are looking for that spot in their day where they can get food and entertainment all at the same time.
Yeah, I totally agree. And we've talked about how bowling has started to change and adapt through different technology and different styles and formats. So what were some of the big drivers that you have seen, that have made mini bowling so popular, aside from the fact of, okay, I can have a bowling offering without taking up as much square footage, or even some of the, really tech infused kind of pieces that are in there? What are you seeing customers do, or why are they gravitating towards some of these other styles of bowling these days?
So space is a big deal, as you mentioned, but it's really, I don't know that it's the driving force. The evolution of our pin spotter, our string equipment, really is the driving force for allowing people to have bowling. Bowling has always required, traditional bowling, a mechanic, a full-time employee, because it's like working on a semi-truck, right? It's over 1,000 moving parts. Nobody's just going to say, hey, let me go work on bowling equipment. It's not safe. It's not what you do. String equipment has less than 100 moving parts. It becomes affordable. It becomes workable because you can be trained to work on this equipment, right? 99% of the fixes with string equipment take place in less than 2 minutes.
Oh yeah.
So it's a much easier maintainable piece of equipment to have in your facility.
Yeah. Well, I feel like that was why when BPAA announced that, hey, string pin setters are now going to be able to be used even in like regular,
competition bowling.
That was huge. I just remember everybody losing their minds of like, great, because you want to talk about if I could come back and have a profession that, not that I don't love what I do, but it's like, you think about like, man, in another life, if I had known what I know in this one, it would be, I would move over to the Northeast and I would be a traditional, old school mechanic bowling guy, because you're charging Christmas Eve emergency plumbing rates on that stuff because it's such a rarity to find somebody.
Mechanic is often the most highest paid employee you have. If you have a good mechanic, not only is he the most often highest paid employee, but you better have a B and a C to back him up if you're a very good traditional center. It made it very difficult for some areas. And we have seen bowling continue to thrive because of those changes. And you mentioned mini bowling and duckpin bowling. That thrives because now you don't need house balls. You don't need rental shoes. You don't have to have a lane machine. So now not only is it size effective and space effective, but it's cost effective, because somebody who maybe couldn't add the investment required for 10-pin bowling has an option that's a little more feasible for them.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. What are some of the things, either, and it could be a customer that's doing something really well with their program, even in just like recreational leagues, like, from a marketing and an outreach of, bowling is so fun because it is so well known, but there are still, novel ways where it can, it's like a black shirt. It just goes with everything. Right. And so what are some things that you've seen out in the wild that customers of yours that are doing, that are having great success just with any of their bowling offerings or pairings or any of that?
So I have a great story for this, and I love this story. And I think because I'm getting older, but I have cinemas, and I actually have a location in Northwest Ohio that's doing this. I have 2 places. They have duckpin, and they offer a senior league. Okay, this is the coolest thing ever. They have senior centers, and senior centers are often looking for places like movies or where to take places. So my location in Ohio has the oldest pizza dough recipe in like all of Ohio and the Midwest. So, like it's super unique. So like they're really known for their pizza, and they're typically closed during the day. So they'll have a senior group in, and they'll feed them lunch, and somebody takes them back. And I have a cinema that's doing this as well, where they'll do duckpin, they'll do lunch, they'll do a movie, and then take them back. So they're able to offer like this extended day for people who often are in a retirement community for their entire week.
Yeah.
And now they're able to get out and have this experience that they wouldn't have had before. And they don't have to worry about having a ball. They don't have to worry about can they bowl on a traditional lane with a large ball. It's a 3-pound ball.
Right.
Both of these facilities are handicap accessible, and they're socializing, and it's so awesome to see. And so I love that it's becoming part of their day.
I love that too, because it just reminds me, you think of something like Woodland Bowl, here in Indianapolis, and in the summer, and that place has been around for forever. I mean, I had my birthday parties there, but one of the things is, you go in there in the summer and it's like there are 26 school buses with summer camps and, school programs, but taking that and saying, oh no, we can take the same base formula and start to apply it to a totally different age demographic is awesome. So
Yeah.
I love that. I
It's
love
awesome.
that.
I love that they do it. And I think one of the things that we do at Qubica so well is we work with our clients to kind of figure out, how are they going to sell this? Like, we don't ever just want to install. I think, and you said this at the very beginning, like, this is a partner podcast. And I love that because, and I know we talk about this all the time. If you're out there and you're watching this, create a group of partners and a vendor group that is going to walk with you through life, right? Because if you're owning a business and you're working in your own business, which many of our clients are, you're marrying your vendors, right? Yeah. You're hoping that they're not just dropping off products, saying peace out and leaving. You want them to walk with you through this journey.
Yeah.
And we do that. Like, we spend a lot of time getting to know who they are, getting to know their area. We always supply them with an entire team of people that work with them, from product specialists to our we have a fabulous marketing team.
Yeah, I love that you guys do that, because you're teaching them how to drive the sports car, right? Like, one of the things that I always say at 360 is, don't buy a Ferrari and then only deliver pizzas with it. No matter what the thing is, you've got to learn how to drive that thing and utilize all of the
your ability.
Yeah,
because everyone's area is different, and none of our customers are the same.
Right. Yeah, they've all got things that are going to help make them stand out and be unique, and I love that. I love targeting that senior living communities as an opportunity. I think that's awesome. I'm trying to think of ways that we can do mini golf and escape rooms and laser tag with that too.
Like, don't just say, oh, my business is only busy on the weekends. Well, why is it only busy on the weekends, right? Like, are there things that our product can help you do, right? Like, if you have a great lunch, what can we do to get people in at lunch? And who are the people you need to get in? Because it's probably not Russ and Sarah, right? We're working during the day, and I don't think that Jody and Mondo want us, like, out drinking and eating pizza during the afternoon. And we're not going to tell them if we are, but, like, who are the people that you can get in your building? And I think that your part, I really love Music 360 because I feel like all of us vendors get along so well. And that the clients have an opportunity really to create that vendor network. And we sat on calls with other vendors where we say, okay, like, how does your attraction work well with ours? And how do we get you that business on a continued level? And there's always that before, during, and after through the build process. And you want to, if you're a client out there, you want to make sure that you're going to have people that are with you before, during, and after.
Absolutely. Well,
I totally derailed that question. Sorry.
No, you're great. I love it. And this is, again, the asterisks from before, where shenanigans shall ensue. So we're right in our wheelhouse. Kids Bowl Free is such a great program. And when we also look at things of, hey, how do I get some folks in during the day when we're not busy, and looking at some of the younger demographics and things, like, have you had any clients that you've seen that really lean into things like STEM and other pieces as it relates to bowling, and how, if it's a new operator or someone that is newer to bowling that is trying not to just do the same old things, like, what are some folks out there that are really leaning and taking advantage of how to leverage Kids Bowl Free as well as STEM programs?
Kids Bowl Free, STEM, school enrichment programs, 4-H programs and projects. I see a lot of photography groups in bowling centers because lighting and motion and things like that. Outreach is the biggest thing, and relationships are the biggest thing, because if you are involved in your community and you truly are wanting to incorporate those groups, they're out there and they want to participate, right? So I don't love when a client says, well, I just can't, because here's a list, right? Like, here are opportunities. And if you really want, like, reach out to us, reach out to me, like, reach out to your partners and say, what can we do?
Yeah.
Because there are schools, there are groups that are looking to incorporate that. Kids Bowl Free is amazing. I will tell you, we have a ton of centers, even just here in Indiana, that participate.
Yeah.
And it's a great way to get a child exercise, socialization, all of these things that we're probably missing in a lot of areas in our lives, right?
Yeah. Well, and to that point too, like even when folks, and I'm more cognizant of it just with my wife being a speech pathologist, but you look at things, Woodland Bowl does a great job of, hey, whether it's Special Olympic kind of pieces or, young ones or adults with disabilities, to be able to have that where you can have, the less overstimulating pieces. So like special education needs and all of that stuff, it just lends itself so well across the board because it is one of those easy to learn, hard to master type of activities, but it is so accessible too. And so there are just, I have yet to find a group that cannot engage with bowling in some form or fashion and have a good time while they're doing it.
And a lot of that leads itself to traditional bowling. But we have a client up in Michigan that has book club on their duckpin lanes. Like,
oh,
and they
really?
and we have another one that does movie night for kids, using the video screen. So
yeah, leaning back into those daycare days and really trying to flex that muscle in a new way.
I mean, how cool would it have been when we were kids if, we got our new Neoverse video wall and you got up on 32 lanes, you get to go have pizza, eat dinner, bowl with your friends, but then it's like a lock-in and you can watch a movie on the lanes. You sit out on the approach or put your sleeping bag out, you watch a movie, and now you've just got on a Monday night when you're normally closed.
Yeah.
And it can be on 4 lanes of duck, it can be on a 32 lane house. There's no limits to this, right? Like you are your own limitation. But how cool would it have been when we were kids to go from 6 to 10 having bowl, pizza, and watched a movie?
Yeah, I love that. I mean, like church youth group kind of time, we always tried to find stuff like that to be able to do. And yeah, absolutely. I love it. It
doesn't have to be at a traditional center. It can be at that 4-lane duckpin house in Ohio, right? Like it doesn't have to be a full center. So it's really nice that like the opportunities aren't just segregated to one type of bowling. It's across the board.
Well, and I love that you can create programming that isn't inherently tied to the core attraction itself, right? Like it's an additive piece that you can make a part of that overall piece, and then you're front of mind for them because they may come and you could do events and things that maybe they don't do something with bowling, but they're doing it on the bowling lanes and having a good time with some of that stuff, and then they're coming back later to be able to do that as well. So I love thinking outside of the box and trying to use all parts of the buffalo, as it were. So
I think of Sun Valley Lanes, John Lucido, who I know you love, know and love, is just
I
as
love
much
that
as I
dude.
do. I mean, he has turned what was a traditional bowling house. I mean, you wouldn't go there 15 years ago unless you were a bowler. You just wouldn't. It was competitive. The lanes were hard. Into outdoor volleyball, the lucky putt. Like it's got every aspect. The Neoverse video wall. It's got an arcade. I mean, he can have groups in there for 8 hours and they're entertained. And and you don't have to be a bowler.
Yeah. I love that. Well, and what was so fascinating is John's ties back to, the U.S. bowling team and all of those different things that he's got. Like you'd be hard pressed to find somebody more ingrained into the core of what that sport is, but then has found ways to make it universally acceptable and part of an ecosystem now that they're just having fabulous success with, which I love.
Right.
So, well, let me shift gears a little bit. We're going to move out of some of the nuts and bolts on the bowling side. I want to, one of the things Danny and I love to do is find new things that are getting people's, switches turned on and what are things that they're learning about and doing all of that. So do you have any, a favorite book that you've read or are reading currently that are really leaning in, or a quote or a favorite lesson learned?
I read all the time. I am a total nerd. I will tell you that I try and get like our kids love to read. Our oldest doesn't love to read so much, but him and I just finished Atomic Habits.
Oh,
if you've not read it, like you have to read it.
Yes.
I also, so he's 20, he's in college, he plays baseball. He is also a bowler. He's a very good bowler. I can't discredit that.
Nice.
But I believe all ages, if you are just constantly wanting to better yourself, Atomic Habits is unbelievable.
It's such a great read. I couldn't agree more. Like it's on my Mount Rushmore of pieces of like, this helps me move the needle on a daily basis type
all
of
the
read.
time. And I can just pick it up and like pick sections of it and like be like, oh, why am I not listening to this? Why am I like, hello, Sarah, like what's going on?
It's so funny because the mastermind group that I'm in, one of the things that they talk, the leader of my groups is like, we only can be told something once, but we need to be reminded of it after that multiple times in order to stay on top of it. Yeah. So that I can definitely agree with that. Well, I just wanted to say thank you so much for your time here on the podcast, as well as just being such a great partner with us at Amusement 360 as we're, really trying to do a little bit of all of this, of how are we going to put together something that's going to make a meaningful experience for people to spend their time and money with us? How are we going to grow as entrepreneurs? And I just feel like you and the whole team at Qubica do such a great job across the board and are such critical parts of bringing that noise and bringing that funk to the event. So love it.
Thank you for having us. We appreciate the partnership. We truly do. And we love the opportunity to partner with good people and create an experience for our clients, because it is about not only the end user experience, but our clients' experience too.
Heck yeah. I love it. Well, thank you again. And with that, we have, more great content coming your guys' way through our weekly episodes. So always come back. And Sarah, you are a wealth of knowledge, and thank you for sharing some of those tips and tricks. If you guys liked what you heard today, be sure to give us a review and subscribe. We always appreciate those 5 stars, please and thank you. And if you have ideas for future episodes, be sure to shoot us a message. If something that Sarah has shared with you, with us today that really triggers some questions or ideas, be sure to reach out to her and Qubica, and they'll be able to get you guys connected with both their experience as well as clients of theirs, and how they're trying to come up with fun new ways to create memories for folks. And as always, big shout out to Mikey Mike on the 1s and 2s working the Ultranet for us, and we will catch you on the next one, troublemakers.